What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Fwd Speaks back, man. Forgive me if I sound like I'm a little bit out of breath, a little tired. I am. Just coming out that gym. This was one of them workouts where it was done after a week off. Like, basically, I ain't been in there in about a week, which is unlike me. But it happens sometimes, you get busy, but at least you get time for your body to rest, recover, feed it, you know what I mean? And now I'm back at it, so forgive me if I'm a little tired. But at any rate, man, it's been a lot of talk about the Chicago Sky as we get closer to week one. Against the Indiana Fever, which should be like really crazy start to the season. I think the W did a good job as far as the matchups that they put together pretty much the weekend, I think Dallas is being done a little dirty, starting out with the Lynx, but at the same time, there is a fan base, that whole UConn set and everything, and Paige Becker's, a lot of people who've been following her, man, since high school, and I've seen recent, some of them have just come to my channel, and you know what I mean? Shout out to all of them, all of y'all, who new subscribes and stuff. Leaving nice comments about Paige, man. Like, I'm really impressed with her game. But to see them against the Lynx, I guess people want to see that, New York, Aces, I pretty much like all the matchups that they've done, that they've given. These are big markets, so I think they want to start that week off with good ratings, and no ratings are higher than Chicago Fever. So anyway, it's just been a lot of talk, man. I've been surfing different Chicago Sky content creators channels, and oftentimes, man, I'm right there in the comment section, man, reading, just participating. I support all of them. Shout out to all of them. You know what I mean? Good job. We need more stuff like that. That's what's up. That's how you counter, the nonsense, man. You got to create, man. You got to produce. Got to produce, content to offset the other stuff. So, but we kind of all over the place, man. I'm feeling that there's some Chicago Sky fans that are quite positive. There's some, man, that are some big time Debbie Downers, man. Still upset over the the draft and hanging on to that, and and I get both sides and everything. But I want to say this, man. I want to address a couple of things, man. Okay. I'm going to give my reasons, or where I believe the Chicago Sky kind of ends up projecting, assuming, that there's reasonable health. If certain key players get hurt, that's always going to change everything. That's the caveat for every team, everywhere. You know what I mean? But assuming there's good health, most players able to play most games, I'm going to give my prediction on that. And then also my thoughts on what it appears like the coaches are doing. And then also where I think the weaknesses are, and ultimately where I think we'll fall. This is obviously like part of a build. It's part of a build. They build building blocks. They've identified, obviously, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso as the major cogs to this build. Courtney Vandersloot, I believe, was brought in to bring some stability, to bring some knowledge, to establish some competency at the point guard position, which I think is a good move, looking at it, because not only is she a player that has the ability to do it, but she loves Chicago. She's going to be invested, like you want a player invested. You know what I mean? She really cares. Ariel Atkins, great player to bring in. Veteran. So you have a veteran backcourt with a young front court, right? So that's good. It offsets it. And you want that, especially when games can get out of control. The other team can go on a run. You want vets, man, to know how to calm things down and all of those things. So I see a lot of games that Chicago lost last year because maybe they lost composure or the point guard didn't really know how to do that. that shouldn't be what happens this year. You know, you figure with Ariel and with Sloot, and even with vets like Kia Nurse, Rebecca Allen, you know, it should be different when it comes to that. Okay, so the team is from the rip better than it was last year. I think by a good percentage better than it was last year. You know, even with Kennedy Carter on the team and all of that, I still think this is a better team. I think overall, Ariel Atkins will give you more than Kennedy Carter did, despite what you might think. You know, I know a lot of us are enthralled with Kennedy Carter's offense, so we think she's the better player. I don't agree with that because you got to look at a couple of things. You got to look at, number one, offense and defense. On offense, it isn't that big of a margin of difference. And then on defense, I think Atkins is the much better player on defense. Then you got to look at, reliability. You got to look at mental stability. You got to look at maturity. You got to look at a number of things like that that are going to weigh heavily in Ariel Atkins' favor over Kennedy Carter. Kennedy Carter, with all the talent that she has, she's unreliable. And because of that, that negates a lot of the talent. It doesn't matter if you're not going to be there. You're not going to be giving your all. You're not going to be available. You're not going to be completely bought into what's being taught and what's being sold. I don't think with this group you have to worry about players not bought in. You don't have to worry about the peanut gallery stuff in the locker room. You know, so just from that standpoint, much better team. Making the playoffs, I absolutely anticipate the team makes the playoffs, barring just some, catastrophic injuries. I got the team making the playoffs. And I think primarily they will hang on the defense. You know, I think this has the makings of a very strong defensive team. You have a nice rim protector in Camila Cardoso. The backup center, Will, has shown me that she can play some defense as well. Angel Reese, we already know. She has the makings of being, an all-defensive team level player. She had a 24th best defensive rating as a rookie last season. That's phenomenal. Out of 144 players in the league, that's phenomenal. You got Ariel Atkins, 5-time all-defensive team player. Vandersloot, you got to figure out what you're going to do with that. But then again, it's a veteran. You just had to figure it out. So I got the team making the playoffs. But as I mentioned before, I got us in those second or third tier of teams that are going to make the playoffs, depending on how you look at it. Top tier for me is about 4. So I would say second tier because I do it in 4s. And the reason we'll be in the second tier to me is I believe the weakness on the team is ultimately going to be Chicago, we're not strong enough at the wing positions. Okay? The front court, I think, has the makings to be great. Angel, Camilla, Will, and then whether it's going to be Michaela backing up Angel, or whether it's going to be Maddie, the other one. I think either situation is fine. Great front court. The back court is better. When it comes to the wings, though, I'm talking about the 2 and the 3. I do like the 2. Ariel Atkins. Okay? But then where's the depth there? And then the 3 is another question mark for me. Right now, it looks like Kia Nurse is going to start the 3, which I don't have a problem with. But I think it's going to show to be a deficiency when you play those upper echelon teams. I'm trying to right now imagine Kia Nurse dealing with Jackie Young. I think that's going to be a problem. I already saw issues when they're dealing with the 3s that are in Minnesota. New York's 3s. I don't know. Like, one of the reasons I picked the Aces to win it all, besides Angel Wilson just being, the chairman of the WNBA, is their wing positions are incredible. You know, they got Jackie Young, added Jewel Lloyd. They bringing in Tiffany Mitchell, bringing in this kid Leah Nye, I believe her first name is. Others, like, they just have a lot of players that can do the same thing, that can get their own shot, that can get to the bucket, that can play defense, that are 6 foot and above, and then you add of course Chelsea Gray to that whole mix. It's like, I think they're going to overwhelm teams. They're going to have too much athleticism. They're going to have too much skill. Ideally, that's what I would like to surround Camilla and Angel with, is a bunch of those types of players of that ilk. This is why I wanted to get a Dejanay Carrington. I was interested in maybe Kalia Copper coming back. I would have loved to grab, like, say, a Tiffany Mitchell that you add depth with, even Tiffany Hayes, who ended up going to the Valkyrie. I like those types of players, those athletic wings. I just really believe they are the key to modern day basketball. Really, basketball forever, honestly. If you have a bunch of them, those teams are hard to beat. They're going to hustle to lose balls better. They're just going to be able to, like, defend better. It's just, I think that's ultimately going to be the downfall of this team. I think you partly got there with Ariel, even though she's a little ideally shorter than what I want, but I think she could do the job because she's kind of long and she's crafty. You know what I mean? She's fast. But this is why, a big part of my commentary, man, I've always been hoping that Michaela could develop, because that's what's needed. I think if she could jump, man, and be, I don't know, 60%, 70% of what a Jackie Young is, that's your best chance of having a team that can contend now. But apparently she must not have made such a jump. At least Tyler Marsh doesn't think so, because he's not using her in that capacity, so he doesn't see it, so it must not be there. I don't know. Listen, I could be wrong. Maybe Key Nurse is good enough. I don't see it. You know what I mean? So I do like her. But see, I'm a little different than what I hear a lot of people talk about when it comes to, the type of players you ideally want. I'm not big on shooters. I'm just not big on shooters. Let me put it this way. I'm not big on, like, three-point shooters who just three-point shooting specialists. I'm not real big on those types of players. Like in other words, like the Kyle Korvers, the Peja Stojakovic's, not even Peja Stojakovic. Peja actually was pretty good. He could do some other things. But guys like that guy Harris that used to be with Miami, just guys that just kind of just stand there and just shoot. I'm not big on those guys. What I'm big on are players that can play, right? Scorers, in other words, scorers who can shoot, right? Like, to me, Jackie Young isn't a shooter. She's a scorer and a defensive player who can hit a three, if she works on it. Same with Jewel Lloyd. I don't see Jewel Lloyd as just a shooter, right? She's a scorer. She's just a flat out baller that can score, but she can hit the three, if you leave her open. Those are the types of players that I ideally want to surround Angel and Camilla with. Ariel is one. Ariel Atkins is one. I gotta get a closer look at Key and Nurse. I don't know, man. I think ultimately, that will be the reason when we get to the playoffs that, if we lose in that first round or that second round, I think that position is going to be the glaring problem. I do. Now, what do I like? There's been a lot of talk about what's happening with Angel Reese right now. And I mean, I don't understand why. I guess it's because, man, people tend to think what they've seen is just what a player is, And a lot of us didn't watch her at LSU. I watched some LSU games, definitely saw the tournaments, and I also took the time to research, Angel Reese and play. And then what you'll find is that there was a time she was a point guard, back in high school and stuff like that, and she grew. And but she still carries a lot of those skills. I know a lot of us think she can't dribble, she can't do that, but it's not really, it really isn't true. She's already shown us an ability to pass the ball well. She's done that so far this preseason. And really last year, she was a very good entry passer to Camila Cardoso. I saw that. So Tyler Marsh, using her in that way, yes, that's what you do. He's a player development guy. And if you have a player, there are two players that, like Camila and Angel Reese, two bigs. You don't want them both crowding the same space. So if you have one of them, especially the forward, who's able to do a little more, who has some guard skills and, more importantly, has the guard mind. If she played point guard, she has somewhat of the point guard mind. You want to use that. You want to explore that. That's the right thing for Tyler Marsh to do. Whether it succeeds or fails, that's the right thing to do. You shouldn't be just camping her out in the post this year the same way you did last year. There's plenty of room in games to do that at times. You can call a play where she's out there posting. She can do it. But camping her and Camila out in the post the whole time, that's not the type of offense you want to run. You want more spacing. You want more ball sharing. You want better ball movement. Chicago Sky was not a great ball movement team last year. And one of the ways to increase that is to put Angel Reese out there on the perimeter like they're doing. No, that's an absolute move. No one should have a problem with that move. Except for haters who just thinks that, I don't know, they don't see a player that we see. They just see because, she gets some shots blocked that means she can't do anything. I don't know. A lot of y'all just are haters who either don't know basketball or refuse to see, what people are saying. You refuse to see what the damn coach is seeing. It's like, come on, man. Listening to those guys too much. And I'm not going to keep going. I'm not going to go back and forth with you at all. I'm going to just tell you, just keep watching. Learn something, man. No, they're doing the right thing with Angel Reese. Doing the right thing with Camila Cardoso. Feed Camila in the post. Why? Like I said before, she's probably going to have the best mismatch most nights. 6'7". It's just the way it is, and she's damn good in the post. So you utilize that. The good thing with Camila too, she has some range. She can hit 15-footers, so there are times you could go 5 out with her as well. Because Camila Cardoso can hit the long ball, That's the thing with this team. They do have versatile players, whether you know it or not. And Tyler Marsh, it's his job to explore all of that, man. To bring all of that out. Bring out the best in all of these players. That's Camila Cardoso on down to the last player on the bench. Haley Van Lith is interesting. She's interesting. Whether or not you're going to use her as your backup point guard. Whether you're going to use her as your 2. All of that. See, I'm not so bent on her, like, mastering the point guard position, technically, old school. Like, she could be used primarily as your scoring point guard. Or what you do is when Vandersloot goes out and she's getting a rest and you put in Haley, that's when you go more point forward Angel Reese, and then you kind of let Haley Van Lith cook under that situation. Reese can set her up for, can be a great screener for her, get her the ball and all types of action, pick and pop action. Like, there's a lot of possibilities, man. And I think it's important because some of us, the Chicago Sky fans, man, like, y'all just as bad as some Eagle fans, bruh. crashing out about this, about that. You still holding on to the fact that they ain't draft who you wanted. And I get it. Pow doing the thing. Some of you still holding on to Citron. The Citron thing I don't get. I like her though. But Ariel Atkins, I think you'll change your mind by the end of the year. That's the right move. You got to kind of go with a mix of veterans with the young players. You don't want a team with just all young players, man. And then think you're going to contend. Young players generally, just all young players like that generally don't win, man. They don't. I think we need to be patient with what Tyler Marsh is doing. He has a vision. I'm glad he's exploring those things with the players. That's his job, man. It's his job to explore all of the talents and the versatility that these players have. And don't get upset if the team, loses some games early in the season that they're supposed to win. Of course, that's going to happen. I got a feeling we're going to handle the Fever, though. I got a feeling we're going to beat them. But even that, if you don't worry about it, man. They're building something. But ultimately, like I said, I believe that 3 position, that's the one that's going to hurt us. I know Citron could have been that 3. I get it. And it makes me sound crazy, but then you still would have been deficient at the 2. Had you not picked up Ariel, It is what it is, man. So, I think it's going to be cool. No need to crash out. Tyler Marsh knows what he's doing. Oh, yeah. But the other thing, man. The only thing that is bothering me with the team, the only thing, is Bynum and Jefferson, man. I don't know what they're gonna do about that. They have these guaranteed contracts and all of that. That's just a bad contractual situation that Marsh had nothing to do with. That was just Jeff. He just should have just kept Mabry. Should have been like, no, Mabry, you ain't going nowhere. You right here. Mabry would have been your 3 for right now, and you wouldn't have these other chicks. That's probably what we should have done. Just kept Mabry, let her kick you. No matter how much she kick and scream, you under contract. You don't want to play, sit your behind down. Maybe something like that, Mabry would have loved to be part of this, I think. I guess, unless she's really that crazy. I know she's from Manaskin, New Jersey, and them Jersey girls, I know about them. I lived around there. I know Mabry a little, but I think she would have liked this situation. I think. They're definitely going to be better than Connecticut. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Tell me what y'all think. Peace, Ed.